Good evening and welcome to another exclusive edition of Parrot Show. Tonight I have with me a very distinguished Nigerian, former Chief Whip, House of Rep, 1992, and former Secretary Nadeko abroad. Now he's a national leader of the Oshun, one of the national leaders of the Oshun Congress in Nigeria. Tonight he's here with us in Dublin. He came for a conference of the Oshun Congress Ireland branch, and he has been speaking to us on some issues, interesting issues, to Nigerians in diaspora and even in Nigeria. I'm here with Mr. Wale Oshun. Mr. Wale Oshun, you are welcome to Parrot Show and welcome to Ireland.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Have you been to Ireland before, or this is your first time?
This is one of the many visits that I've had to Dublin.
Okay. And this time you're here for the conference
for the conference of AC Ireland. That's one of the AC units in diaspora.
Okay. Yes. I know because I was there yesterday. I was one of the people who experienced everything that happened there yesterday. But tell me, this is the AC in diaspora,
yes.
Ireland branch.
Ireland unit, yes.
Yeah. How was the experience?
Quite a good experience. I mean, it's comforting that you have Nigerians living outside who ordinarily are living in more in more stable environments, stable societies, who are living more comfortably in a way because infrastructures are there that they do enjoy, that they lack at home, and can still, in spite of the limitations of time, create, their time, their resources and energy to establish and be members of political parties right back at home. So really, it's something quite commendable, and it was a nice experience being amongst the members yesterday and being one of them.
Okay. You see, when we say AC abroad, or Nigerians in diaspora,
ACN
in diaspora,
yes, please.
Do you think there's any need for it? Have they got anything to contribute to the political dispensation in Nigeria?
Well, don't forget that as at the moment, the best of what is Nigeria, this may be a little bit exaggerated, but the best of what is Nigeria is outside Nigeria. The best doctors are either in Ireland, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in the United Emirates, in Saudi Arabia. The best engineers are outside. I mean, you are talking of a global market where skills and professionalism, are being snatched up by those who are serious about development. And so if you have such intellectual capacity outside your shores and you are not tapping from them, meeting with them, encouraging a relationship with them, then the country will be the ultimate loser. That is why, of course, it is necessary under any guise. And of course, because you need the political platform to develop a country, it is also necessary to encourage them to participate. More so when it is being considered by the Nigerian people to allow Nigerians in the diaspora to have a vote. If they will have a vote, then there's a need, of course, to also cut them. But beyond politics, you look at the economics of it. It's better to have them to tap into who they are, into their brains. Don't forget that many of these people were originally trained in Nigeria. It's just that the developed countries are smarter by paying them, what you consider more competitive wages and facilities that they can never have at home.
Yeah, because I have two questions there. One of them would be that people say, why should we belong to a political party in Nigeria when we are here when we don't know what is in need, we have no voice, we can't vote, what we say are not being taken seriously?
Well, but it depends on whether they have been here, they have made up their mind to be here in perpetuity. But if there is a hope that, well, one day I might be returning to Nigeria, or there is a hope that one day even my own child that I'm having in this country might be looking back and be willing to return to Nigeria, then there must be that capacity to think of how to help those in Nigeria, to handle developmental issues, stability issues. I mean, you stay away at your own peril, really, unless you have foreclosed your mind that, okay, I'm living in Dublin, there is ever no time that I will go back to that country. Well, if that is the case, you may not show any further interest. But if you still hope, and many of them, of course, do have extended families back home. As I speak with you, the statistics is that close to $7 billion is remitted by Nigerians living abroad to Nigeria every year. So, which means that there is that continuous bonding with their parents, with their...
No, that wasn't even the question.
Yes.
We know that there's that bond. That we harness
also,
that.
one day they would have to...
What I'm trying to say
Yes.
is that people are of this opinion that if we say we are members of the ACN or members of the PDP or whatever,
Yes.
Nigerian parties,
Yes.
how can we contribute? If we just do our parties here and we are not there, we don't know what is going on. We always say that we are members of the ACN.
Yeah.
How do we contribute?
No, but
the other question is,
Yes.
how would the political parties in Nigeria encourage these people when they say, Nigerians in diaspora, when they say, I belong to ACN or I belong to another party? How would they encourage them that, okay, it is worth my while, it is worth the while to belong to this party?
But yesterday you saw the conference that held. Now, look at the major areas of discussions. The relevance of women in politics. That cuts across the whole world. It's not even about Nigeria alone. Now, issues of infrastructure were also raised. So what it means is that when you have the national, you have, a representation that is at the almost very high level coming to attend the conference here, it shows that something will certainly be taken back in terms of their own feelings about development, about policy on women matters, policy on other issues. So really the conference that was held here yesterday is the second that ACN will be having in diaspora. The first one being in UK in 2009, and the one for 2012 now being planned for Spain. Yeah. Now, so what it presupposes is that the various issues will come up, issues that have to do with policy, where they have contributions to make. And then, of course, we also have the question of bonding, because the party leadership is represented, met individual members, have the potential of assessing them. Don't forget that because they also hope to return home one day. In fact, some do return. You had a situation in which the Deputy Speaker of Ogun State House of Assembly in the last dispensation is a diasporan living in UK who came to contest elections and represented these people. So some might wish to return and contest elections, which means that these interactions are already there, between them and party leadership, between them and their own party structures, even in their own constituencies. So it's also there.
So again, is there any kind of structures put in place to encourage them? Like you just mentioned, professionals and professionals coming out of Nigeria, living Nigeria abroad to maybe for one reason or the other. And when these kind of people who are seen to be intelligent and being able to do what they want to do when they commit to it, is there any way of encouraging them to come back by maybe, getting positions, not political positions. It might just be positions within the party, just when they want to go home and contribute. Because that, again, we encourage people who are here to say that, okay, when we belong to ACN or any other political parties, sometimes our people go home to work within this the main base.
Yes. Well, for instance, now let's put it this way. We had a major conference of the party in Ibadan in 2010, and the diaspora units were represented. They participated, they delivered papers, they gave words of encouragement. Now, you also have some of them who had left the diaspora returning back to Nigeria to settle, who now established a diaspora unit of the party to be able to correlate the activities of members of the party in diaspora who are still outside. You do have that. But over and above is that most Nigerians across, in terms of cultural values, no matter where they are, you hear issues like home is home, home is home. No matter where they are, they maintain certain levels of relationship with their home structures. In the same way they maintain it with the party structures. You find a number of them who are registered with their units in the ward. The smallest party unit is the ward in Nigeria. You find many of these people who are registered in their wards, who make contributions to their wards. And so the party knows that they are existent and can call on their... And that is why, for instance, in the present government of Rauf Aregbesola in Osun State, the former chairman of ACUK is the special advisor on environment, Dr. Wade. He is there. He must have been thrown up by AC in diaspora. It is after he's been thrown up that the question of his competence, his qualifications can be looked into. Yeah. And he's there now. He's just been appointed. In fact, he's just been sworn in the last couple of weeks. So that kind of opportunity advance, and that is why we encourage them, to.
Okay. Finally, Honorable,
yes.
Senator Shaiu Lawan yesterday touched on a very sensitive area, the area of infighting between Nigerians in diaspora, especially within the political parties, and not just the political parties, even within the churches and other organizations that we have find houses. Yeah. There's always this conflict of who is the leader, and even in business, it's very difficult for us to work together. I was very happy when he touched on that area.
Well, I think, first and foremost, we are Nigerians anywhere we are anyway. And you must admit that that is a country with over 250-something nationalities, people with different cultures, different values, different languages, and of course different religions. Forget about Christian-Muslim divide. There are as many as 200 other religions that are being practiced by Nigerians. So naturally, all this will affect our valuations, our perceptions of one another. And it will be difficult for me or for any sociologist to expect Nigerians, not to be, I won't want to use the word combustious, but not to be people who can really rabble-rouse and challenge one another, and because the differences are many. It's just that, well, if we must have development, we must manage them. But it's natural. The challenges would always be there. Even in Nigeria, there was a time people from Ondo State, the old Ondo State, they will say, they write a lot of petitions. It's against themselves. It's not against Northerners or Easterners. It's against themselves. So, which is to say that, well, the more educated people become, the more aware they become, the more inquisitive they are, and the more questions they ask, don't forget one thing. For instance, the Yoruba, of which I am one, would ordinarily, okay, allow age and to determine many things. If you are older or if you are an Oba, by value you are giving a lot of credence. Whatever you say is not challenged. But education is now making that quite. People want to ask you questions and say, why would you have to do this, or why do you do this? Initially, such a question would be regarded as being impudent or being challenging authority, but that is changing.
Yeah,
really.
Yes. That's true, and if that was the case all the time,
yes,
it would be fine.
Yes.
But I think there's a case of being impatient, that we are not able to work together. As if you vote somebody into a position today,
yes,
and then after 2 weeks, people are no longer satisfied with the person. They don't want to contribute their own. Yes. They just want that person out. They want to bring in their special interest. It's a big problem.
But you see, I'm likely to look at this problem differently. And I said this. In the first instance, we've had a long period of military rule and a long period of decline where all the infrastructures have collapsed. And so the only thing people do now is politics, politicking, because it's the most rewarding in terms of income.
Yeah.
I mean, you go into a house, before you become a member, perhaps your occupation could only yield you about ₦1 million income every year, or 2 million every year. And then suddenly you are a member of one house or the other, and you are potentially now having about 10 million, 12 million naira. Now, people look at that and say, wait a moment, this fellow was one of us just a moment ago. So what we need to do is to create a productive environment. When I left the university and when politics actually started after the military was packing to go, quite a number of my colleagues were not interested in politics. We wanted our career in the civil service, in the corporate world. You leave politics, you were not interested. But now every university undergraduate wants to be a politician.
Politically aware.
Because he knows that within a year he could be riding a jeep. When his colleague in the civil service has not even...
How is he able to do that?
Well, because of the facilities. Professor Adeyeye, when he was in the House of Representatives, used to say, and Nigerians didn't understand him then, he is a professor of virology in the US, a profession that pays really well. And he used to say, listen, this is the most paying job, this one I'm doing in the house, anywhere in the world. That even as professor of virology, he could not expect, in the America, where the minimum wage is 10, 15, 20 times of what we can afford in Nigeria, that he doesn't even receive as much in the US as he was being paid in Nigeria. Okay. So the thing is, there's this disproportionate income that derives from service in Nigeria, political service. And that, unless we look at it in a way that people can legitimately look for other careers, if everybody were to start going into politics, productivity will be suffering. Because you find a good medical doctor now, he wants to be a politician because cutting up people in hospitals and all that can only fetch him 10% of what he will earn if he were to be a member of the House of Assembly. And then you find a councillor who is earning more than a professor. I mean, you look at it, these are areas that we must really address. I don't know how we do it, but we must address it.
Well, I think how they do it is to actually have the interest of the country at heart. Because if the reason why some people join politics is the money, because I know, I know that an Irishwoman was invited yesterday to give it up. Here, what my experience here is that politicians are,
Yes.
most of them join politics first and foremost because of their love for the community.
Yes.
and they have the community at heart. Yes. They do community works. They do different things just to serve the people. That's their first happiness, and then they grow.
But then don't forget that at the same time, if they are not doing that community work, they have careers that they can pursue. There are jobs that they can legitimately, productive jobs that they can legitimately go into. And at the worst, even when they are totally unemployed, there is some state subsidy or support that can enable them have a reasonable level of living. So for them, politics will be entirely about service. But what I'm telling you now is that when the ordinary human being will look for survival and it is not there anymore. Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question. It was being rumored, and nobody has denied it, that the last House of Representatives and Senate were paying to one another 42 million every quarter. Nobody has denied that. But assuming that it is true, that is 14 million a month. Tell me what legitimate business that you can be running that will make a net profit. It's net profit after salaries, energy, this net profit of 14 million in a month. There are very few in that country. And so if you have that, why would people not want to go into it? And when you are there, how can you go into it?
Is that not what should be addressed?
That's precisely what I'm telling you, that, of course, but it's not, the politicians alone cannot address it, because you don't expect them to cut their nose to spite their face. Nigerians themselves must ask for it. Yeah. They must, I mean, see, when in UK you had this unlawful payments being received by members of parliament on the second housing or something like that, the British people stood up as one.
The probe is still there.
And a member is in prison now. But has anybody, have Nigerians themselves now been able to raise issues about salaries that we know are excessive?
Okay, Honorable, we are now discussing the state of the nation.
Well, you led questions to it. So.
No, that's what I'm saying. I said I was going to come to the state of the nation, but we are discussing it. Okay.
So
let's go into it fully. Yes. What you're saying, I don't know if you are aware of what happened here, where a prime minister was, you know what happened to Betty Ahem, former prime minister, for 15,000 euro and the wristwatch and the probe and everything, what eventually happened to him.
Yes.
Can that one happen in Nigeria? That you just, for a mere 15,000 euro, the prime minister is probed up to the extent that he has to resign.
Well, I tell you, it's desirable. I mean, you start from that angle. Is it desirable? I would say yes. That if you are in government, you hold office, you must be accountable to the people that put you there. But then you are talking also of values here. What are the values? For instance, if you come to the office of the governor in Nigeria, there are two ways, two traffics that you will expect. There is one that, for instance, anytime you are leaving, you expect to be given something. That is there. Then you have this other value that you are coming there. Oh, that maybe I must bring something again to His Excellency to be noticed. So it depends on the value system. But I must admit that what is desirable for good governance is one in which those in government are totally accountable for all their actions, and in which they must be held responsible by the people. So if the same people, well, let me tell you, a senator told me that his people, I mean, I'm talking of his constituents now. Yeah. We were asking him one day, Senator, what is your own about challenging the abnormal salaries in Abuja? Collect your own. If you don't need it, we know you are rich. If you don't need it, bring it to us. But the larger question of really, the moment he collects it, that is money that would have gone into development, but it doesn't bother them. Yeah. If you don't need it, bring it to. So the people themselves have to have changed values.
Change.
Yes, moral, social value.
But how would people change their values in the face of hunger and deprivation? Is it possible? When people are hungry,
yes,
when they have no hope of eating the next day,
yes,
the security is zero, yes, the education is not there.
Yes.
How do you expect this?
But the way if you listen to Fela, and he's dead many years now. Yeah.
But
I think in one of his music, yeah, he was saying, they no one die, they not go die, something like that, because they don't want to do anything. If you are poor, no meal is coming, and then you see that you are being misruled. It is for you to stand up and reject it. If you cannot get to that stage, you still don't want a change. It means you can still survive. Because the truth is that, during the Abacha days, a number of people stuck their necks out. And there were people who would call, I remembered many people would call me and say, what is your own in all of this? You can lead a normal life. Why are you involved in the Abacha, anti-Abacha thing? Now, so the point I'm making is that if people really are poor, unstable, unsecured the way they are, let them come out and say, no, we don't want this to continue. Somebody is bound to listen. The mere fact that we are told officially, I don't know whether that is true, but we are told officially that, okay, the budget for the National Assembly has been cut by 40%. They didn't do it voluntarily. It's because the media, the people were critical that how can you pay 42 million naira? Nobody has confirmed it. But in any normal system, somebody would have come out with firm figures and say, no, this is not true. This is what the allowance is, this is what the salary is. But nobody has done that. But because people are even clamoring, now they say, okay, 40% down. But there are people in Nigeria who believe that they should not even be taking 10% of what they are taking. But other than mouthing it, has anybody organized a rally to say, no, we cannot accept this? It's Nigerians that can reject what they don't want. But if they are afraid, then...
Well, Nigerians will reject what they don't want when they are empowered and when they are not being used against one another.
Well, you are now talking of interest. One is deprived, his child is not in school or in bad school, then he doesn't know where the next meal will come from. So for a Yoruba man, for an Hausa man, for an Igbo man, if they are deprived, their interest is the same. But if all they can see is that I'm a Yoruba man, or I'm an Igbo man, or I'm an Hausa man, and then I can be influenced by those, so-called leaders who are stealing the money and are amassing it somewhere. Well, it means that it still has not touched their bone marrow. So once it touches it, then they will know how to act together.
Okay, Honorable, ACN,
yes.
PDP,
yes.
What is the difference?
There's a lot of difference. You are talking of sleep and death. And let me put it this way. ACN, in 2007 to 2011, we had from the beginning one ACN government in the whole of the Federation. PDP had 29, I think, or 28 with the Central. But you could see that the much of development that took place in Nigeria, acknowledged by Nigerians themselves, took place in an ACN state. And when Governor Oshun in Edo emerged, thanks to God, after the judicial rulings and took over, the other developments that people can see and relate to is taking place in Edo State. and now we are having 6 of them. It will be easy. You will see the difference. It's there in terms of which one is more to the people, which one is talking of development, which one is talking of making education available, to the ordinary citizen. It is there. You go to Lagos State today, you will find that classes or in primary school, where before you can find terrazzo floors, ceiling fans working, and you are having teachers that are themselves not available in private schools. So the facilities have been improved. The difference is there. You can't even compare the two. When B.C. Akonde was in office, he was constructing a classroom for 20% of what the federal government was constructing the same classroom in the same state. So the difference is clear. You are comparing sleep and death.
So PDP, ACN is a matter of comparing sleep and death.
Yes, they are different. You are comparing life and death. Sorry, not sleep and death. Life and death. Sorry, yes.
So if Nigerians were to vote in ACN today as the new government,
yes,
things will change.
Oh, certainly.
So what will change?
Oh, a lot will change. Let's look at it this way first. The best capital any nation has is its people, how educated they are. But in terms of education, you are talking of even applicable education, relevant education. So if you go to AC states now, you can see a deliberate effort to make sure that the citizens acquire the necessary skills. In Lagos State, in Edo State, in Ogun State, you can, particularly in Lagos State, you can see skills acquisition centers that have been, driving schools that have been established, agricultural schools that have been established, so that people can have a skill. Productivity is the center, the nexus of development anywhere in the world. Forget the invisible trade that happens. Productivity. What the productive base is, and you need people, you need the capital, human capital to do so, apart from the physical capital of resources and all that. So first and foremost, education is there. So the issue of what education is available will be different. Then infrastructure. I have not seen any country that develops without infrastructure. And here we are also talking of road infrastructure. We are talking of energy, power. Now, imagine a government, PDP from 1999 to 2007, now to 2011, 12 years. And when Obasanjo came in, Nigeria was enjoying more than 3,000 to 4,000 megawatts of electricity. And now all you hear is aspiration to increase it from 3,000 to 4,000, because additional, there have been investment, but the investments are invisible. You can't see it. You can't see the. But so certainly that is an area in which a lot of energy will go, because without power, there's hardly anything that you can achieve. So, like I said, those are areas, and of course, again, you look at infrastructure, road infrastructure. Go to Edo, see what is happening. Go to Lagos, see what is happening. There are indicators of the potentials of an AC government at this time.
Honorable, I wish I had the time to really trash out some of these interesting issues with you in details. But one last question. I know you have to go. I know you have a flight to catch. The Boko Haram case in Nigeria.
Yes.
If the ACN were to be in power, how would they deal with the situation like that?
In Boko Haram. Now, you have touched a raw nerve, something that touches every Nigerian, even those who are far away from Borno State or from even the borders of the north are concerned about Boko Haram. But then, so it's such an issue that a lot of sensitivity has to be really appreciated. But I need to say this. One, how did Boko Haram come into place? How was he funded? When I joined the service of the Federation in 1974, I had a colleague who finished the same year in 1973 at the university, who started career work with me in the federal service. And by 1979, the colleague had become secretary to a state government. That is how large the potential for Northerners. And then you now have a graduate from the north now who is unemployed. You have a graduate from the north. We've been going through that for many years. You have a graduate from the north who is a night guard, and you say Boko Haram will not come. It will come. One day it will come. So the thing is, Boko Haram is a sensitive issue. The solution to it is both political and economic. Economic. They will not have recruits or adherents if, for instance, the potential for self-realization is manifest. It is not there. And that is why, one, they can be invisible as they are now, because easily they can recruit, and they are not, I'm sure Nigerians will not believe that those recruits are uneducated. They are as sharp as they come. If you interpret that, okay, the fellow who attacked the United Nations building, is he a Nigerian? Is he a Boko Haram person? If he's a Boko Haram person, then he must be a very intelligent person. So if he's a very intelligent person, you must have educated him to a level in which, of course, what he sees ahead is just a bleak future. So how do you make sure that what we see ahead, I don't want to die, because I was lucky to have been there when we didn't see bleak futures. But what people are seeing now are futures that are bleak. So it's both political and economic. And you have to take firm measures in ensuring that those who go to schools are given education that is adaptable, that they can use even if government is not employing them, that the facilities which they can use are also there for them to use. And then we'll be taking people away from the militant groups because they have more challenging things, and they can look at life as something that has to be created rather than destroyed. And that will be the kernel of the kind of policies that we would use in our party.
Okay. Well, Honorable, we have to stop now, but just one message to Nigerians abroad about their beliefs about the country, their belief about the country, and what you want as one of the national leaders that we have, because seeing your name as one of the leaders of NADECO before, I know the role that NADECO played trying to put Nigeria on course when they were almost breaking away. So I know that you are someone Nigerians respect and listen to. So just a general message to Nigerians abroad who might be watching us or listening to you today.
Well, Nigerians abroad, well, I think the first thing is keep the flag flying. That is, believe in yourselves, be part of the productive system here, not part of the criminal system. Be part of the productive system. Raise the name of Nigeria positively in whatever position you find yourself, whether you're a cleaner somewhere or one of the finest surgeons somewhere. Raise that flag flying, and then expect that one day you want to go back home. So that, of course, implies that you don't forget there, and that you'll be taking steps at various levels to encourage, well, to discourage, for instance, those who launder our money, because the politicians who steal money in Nigeria, don't keep it there. From the revelations you read in the newspapers, they launder foreign countries,
different countries
and
abroad.
they use also Nigerians. So expose them, don't cooperate with them. I mean, believe in the country and then see how you can help the country to move forward. But be positive part of the community in which you live, you know, be part of them, and but show all the time that you can be relied upon. Not that the situation now where you carry a Nigerian passport and you are seen as a 419 expert before you are seen as a Nigerian professional. I mean, I went to Texas and I'm told that the head of the power unit or energy unit there is a Nigerian. But if he were to travel, because that is not written on his forehead, the moment his passport is produced, he's seen as a 419 person. So
that's what it tells
me. So that is the kind of positive living that can help us, you know, remold, rebrand the image of Nigeria, not the kind of branding and rebranding that we have had in the past.
Okay. I sincerely hope that when the time comes, if ACN were to get into power, yes, that the difference will be clear. According to the popular Nigerians saying that the difference will be 7 up. Because the problem we have is that Nigerians say that Nigerians are fond of writing long papers and delivering beautiful speeches.
Yes.
But when it comes to the delivery,
yes,
that's where we have problems. But I think there's something to build on, yes, looking at Edo State and Lagos State, yes, being ruled by the ACN.
Yes.
You know, so we just, all hope is not lost.
It's not lost, and thanks for the faith you are expressing too.
Okay, I really want to thank you again. I know there's no time, but yes, I just hope that in the very near future we really have enough time to sit down and trash out some of these issues, because Nigerians all over the world really wants to hear from their leaders, like I said before.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, that has been Mr. Wale Oshun, like I said before, former Chief Whip, House of Rep, 1992, and former Secretary, NADECO abroad. He's in Ireland. He came for the Action Congress of Nigeria conference that happened here, that was held here in Dublin. Until next week, when we come your way again, peace and love.